All right. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Dr. Terry Wager, of course, and this is my good friend Kevin Peloso. He's back. We missed him so much last week, but you were taking care of some business, so that's awesome. What are we talking about today?
Talking about faith buried under the noise.
Sounds like you read that.
Maybe.
So, what are we talking about with faith buried under the noise?
Basically, the concept of not letting your thinking get in the way of your faith and what you can do,
Yeah.
pigeonholing yourself.
Um, ever happen to you where the noise gets
Never.
too much? Never. Oh,
Not me, but
thank God.
everyone else.
No wonder you're so successful. Uh, so give me
No, for
an
sure.
experience that you've had where the noise beat faith.
Um, I mean, pretty much whenever I've tried to start one of my ventures, you pretty much just hear all the why you can't do it or why no one can do it. And some of it's logically backed, some of it's not. But either way, there's a right way to do things, and if you want to do it, figure out the right way.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said the it's logically based, and one of the things that I find more unhelpful than anything is logical argument when you're attempting to try something in faith, because the idea of going and trying something new is having faith in the idea that whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to learn from it. Whatever I'm going to do, I don't necessarily know what I'm doing, but I'm going to go and attempt this. I'm going to try this, and then you get all of these people, or sometimes even ourselves, that start bringing up logical arguments that make a whole lot of sense that stop you, because the biggest problem is they do make sense, but they're not necessarily true. I can give absolutely sensible, logical arguments for all kinds of things that aren't true. And in fact, that's what fake news is all about. It's believable. And it's, I think the thing that runs all of our lives in our interactions is the dreaded what ifs. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? And we create all of these scenarios of what might be happening that, one, we're spending a lot of time paying attention to them. And two, each one of them and the different variations that they go causes more hesitation, more procrastination around what we want to do. And it really gets in the way of progress. It gets in the way of confidence. It gets in the way of focus, because we're thinking about what might happen.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Where are you?
Um, yeah, it can definitely hold you back. Um, I think that's why a lot of people who are well educated or very intellectual don't do things like start a business because statistically you shouldn't. It's a bad idea for most people. And statistically you will fail like
Yeah.
within two to
See, I
five
got
years.
I gotta say, that's why I start a bunch of businesses and keep doing different things, is because while I'm well educated, I'm not very smart. And so I can just keep trying stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely yeah, and of course there's always there's exceptions to the rule, but it definitely takes a level of getting out of your head in order to start and successfully grow a business because um, you're not going to have all the information you need, and the information that's generally given online or the what's the word I'm thinking of, the quota or status quo, that's it. The status quo is that most businesses fail, so it doesn't make sense to start them, but at the same time we need them. So
Absolutely. And it's interesting you say that, because um, if we start into to anything we do with the idea that 80% of businesses fail. Well, right there, you're in the lower 20% if you think you're going to succeed. So I got 80% chance of failing. Now I'm going to make all my decisions from this fear of 80% failing. Um, and it's interesting because one of the things that I really talk about a lot when I'm working with people is that faith is an emotion, and that emotion is buried under the emotion, the same emotion, but in a victim stance of doubt. And then if we're really looking at it, the the if I'm in doubt and I don't like that, I'm going to be cynical about other people being able to do something, or me being able to do something, or it really working out, and I move to cynicism rather than doubt because I don't like doubt. But we don't automatically move to faith if we're frightened. We move to cynicism, and then we move to uh, fear and how am I going to do this, or what's going to happen if it doesn't work, and we get into those dreaded what ifs, and it's a very emotional experience that then we use logic to explain why we're not moving forward. Uh, have you seen people do that before?
Yeah. Um, it's a convenient excuse.
It really is. It really is. I think about how this shows up in all kinds of different places. Is like whenever we're having an argument with somebody or a disagreement, or somebody betrays us in some way. It shakes our faith a little bit, and we move into fear, and then we start to try to tell ourselves, well, it's not that big a deal, but we're still reacting to it. Or we've got steps to deal with whatever it is, but it still shakes our faith, and we move into fear. Then we can get contemptuous towards the people who scared us, and it's not because we actually think they're bad people or anything, but they scared us, so now we're mad at them. um, and all of this plays out in our head, and these things are really loud. And when I start working with people, one of the first things I tell them is they're okay and they don't know it. Because most of the time people are like, oh, my business, oh, this, oh, I can't find good people, oh, I can't seem to get further. There must be something wrong with me, or there must be something wrong with my business. And well, yeah, there's something wrong with your business if you're not where you want to be, but that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. And the biggest thing wrong with you is not that there's something wrong, but you listen to the noise that there is something wrong, but you're not paying attention to you. And as a result, you're responding to the noise instead of taking the next right action. And then a lot of people think they're taking the next right action because they're responding to the noise. Well, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. It's not working. Is that the next right action? Or is that the next right now action? Because I'm whacking moles and I'm pretty good at that game.
Yeah. Being busy can be distracting.
Yeah. So
A lot of people think being distracted means you're not, generating any activity, but a lot of times it's quite the opposite.
generating a lot of activity, and making a lot of moves, and um,
Sometimes
hiring a
creating
bunch of people,
noise.
creating noise. I think about a lot of people like, um, we got to grow. Let's hire a bunch of people, but they didn't actually think about who they're looking for. They didn't think about what they want their culture to be. We were talking about that earlier today. Is uh, Kevin has built a fabulous culture in his business right now, and he spent a lot of time and effort with his partners, really going, okay, what do we want this to look like? What is our vision for our company? What are we trying to do together? And how do we want people to show up inside our company? And that's not something that you do based on the noise, because we still got all kinds of business coming in. We still got bills going out. We got to run this thing, but we need to step back. We need to stop listening to all of the pressures of the outside, and we got to go, let's take a minute to think about what we really want. And I think that that is one of the hardest things to do in a business, is to actually slow down, step back, and really look at the people in it, and really look at what's going on with me, what's going on with our other partners, what's going on with the leadership, and then go, okay, what do we want to be doing? Where do we want to be going? How do we want to get there? And if we're paying attention to the noise, we'll be like, okay, how do we get there? Wait, I got to get a phone call. How do we get there? Oh, wait, I got to go and do this thing. Oh, I'm too busy for this or that or the other thing. And what happens is we let the noise ruin the intentional, balanced movement forward, where we're really actually making the best progress. But sometimes what happens, and you might be experiencing some of this, is we're doing so well, and we've created such a communication and working well together, that there almost feels like there could be something wrong. And even more so, we feel like we need to be doing more stuff, because there's an underlying piece here that we weren't expecting when we got all on the same page. And there's a number of people that I used to work with, that they get that peaceful feeling in their business or in their relationship, or just in their own lives. And then they go, I think I'm depressed because I don't have the ups and downs that I was having. And I'm like, no, you just got a quiet mind. That's not depressed. It's a quiet mind. And you can think clearly.
It's working.
It's working. And like, I got to go create some drama. Go hire a bunch of people, and there's other people that just succumb to noise after noise after noise, and they're hiring all the time, and they're firing all the time, and they're trying these new things, and they're doing all of this new stuff based on the next thing that came out. And they listen to one guru that says you got to have a lean team, so they fire everybody. And then you got to listen to a new one that says you shouldn't be doing any of the work, you should just be doing thinking. And so then they get all these people to do the work, and nothing works, because they're listening to everything and they're not paying attention to what's going on with them. And it doesn't work. And so when I see this idea of our faith is buried under our noise, what's going on is we're giving much more credence or much more weight to all the different thoughts that we got in our head, instead of going, what's going on with me and where do I want to go? And having the faith and confidence that if I just take the next right step, I'm going to get there. And then finding the people who really align with what I'm wanting to do and where I'm wanting to go, and being able to have real good critical conversations around that without all of the noise. And that's something, whenever I'm thinking about precision, that's the thing I go to the most. Is, you guys went through some turmoil just 18 months ago. We're on the phone, we're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know if we're going to be around as we are right now. And we're this close to bankruptcy. And that ain't the case today. Was there a lot of noise when that was going on for you?
Yeah, I would say so.
Talk about it.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of noise, a lot of stuff to cut through, a lot of differing opinions, and it was a battle between keeping the boat afloat while at the same time continuously sailing it, which is very difficult if you find yourself in that position.
Well, yeah, and
Um,
I think another picture would be somewhat of you and Vinny throwing out water while you were feeling like, at that moment, Tyler was standing next to the mast, going, "What's the problem?" And then you guys actually started really talking to each other in the way that is much more intentional and aired out what the fears are, aired out the reality of the situation, and shut out all of the noise of what's happening and go, okay, what's most important right now? And then Tyler grabbed a bucket and all three of you started doing it. And all
Right.
three of you started working together on the same focus of what needs to happen next. And that's what breaking through the noise is. And it really comes from getting to that place of what do we really want? Are we really on the same page? Are we really interested in moving in the same direction? Or is there two different directions we should be going? And some of us go one way and some of us go the other. Maybe we shouldn't be a partnership. And that's a very scary thing. But I think that that's what you guys were going through at the time.
Yeah.
And so what was that like for you with that noise? And because I mean, I was watching it, but I don't know what it was like for you when you were sitting there thinking about, is precision going to be precision? And is Tyler and Vinny going to be our partners, or am I going to go back to real estate? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I think what it really came down to, um, when there's chaos happening all around you, you start to become kind of like, at least the way I view it, the eye of the storm. So it's like, it's calm about this far from my face, but then everything around me, it's just a giant cluster. And, for me, what what kind of kept me going in terms of figuring out how to get this thing right is, well, one, it's been done before, right? So that's huge for me personally. Like, I'm not going to take us to Mars, but like a construction company, it's been done before. There's a right way to do it. There's a right way and a wrong way. I have to figure out what is the right way to do it. And I have to survive long enough to figure it out, because that's another key piece of it too. That that was one. And then two, for me, honestly, I kind of used my ego uh for me. I just would replay in my head going to bed. Um, I would just replay like going home to my parents' house and like telling them that I failed. And it just like eats, like even just saying it, like it kind of gives me a little jitter, but it eats at me. Uh, so the ego side of me, and not just my parents, but like family, friends, like just saying that I failed at this, like really, really bothered me from an ego perspective. So I kind of use that to keep pushing. And so kind of between the both of those, knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and I refuse to be stuck in the darkness, it kind of moved me
Well, there's a
that
couple
way.
other things you did. One of them was, and it's what I appreciate most about you, is you called a lifeline. You were on the phone. Hey Terry, what do you think about this? Hey, I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that, and you allowed yourself to be vulnerable and share that stuff and ask for direction. And what do you think I should do about this? What are we going to do? How are we going to get there? And then the other thing is you listened to Vinny quite a bit because he looked like he had the compass of where you guys should go, although you weren't sure because everybody said you should go different ways. But then you also talked to Tyler about where he was at. And so the big thing is there was what you were talking about with, okay, I'm not going to let people see me fail. I don't want to move back to my parents' house. This is a burn the boats kind of thing. We got to go all in. But that next step of how do I go all in? Well, number one, I get vulnerable. I get vulnerable and I say, I don't like what's going on here and we're having problems, which right there is a boost of confidence because you're confident enough to say that, hey, I don't know how to get there. And what we were figuring out before didn't work. And now we're finding out what to do. And I'm gonna let the people who I trust be a guide to me as I take the next steps. And that takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of faith. It takes a lot of gumption. It takes a lot of, okay, I'm doing this. And I say it a lot, and I have you on this show with me because you honestly are the epitome to me of somebody walking in faith and moving forward. And sometimes you don't even know you're doing it. You just, it's almost like you don't even know not to, or that there is another choice to listen to your head and run away in fear. Um, but I see you getting on the phone. And I mean, when we first met, this is, and I don't mean to make this about all about Kevin's awesome, but uh, when you were a realtor working for that first real estate guy, and I said, break up with him. And you're like, oh, can't do that. Noise abounded. He's going to be mad at me. This is going to happen. I'm going to fail. I'm going to make an enemy for life. He's done all of this stuff for me. I couldn't be where I'm at without him. And then you're like, you're right. I got to do this. And then not only did you do it, you broke up over Facebook. I mean, a Facebook Live. Kevin got on a live and called the guy and said, I got to move on. That is faith, because it's nerve-wracking enough to do something like that when you're frightened of doing it. But then when you record yourself on a live stream talking about having to move on and do something different, when you got all of that noise in your head, that is 100% the model of walking in faith, walking in a balanced emotional state, knowing that I'm frightened of this stuff, knowing that there's something on the other side, and knowing that I have to take the action to get there. And that's what I'm talking about. And it is a rare thing to see somebody that willing to be open and honest. And that's the you know, they talk about who, not how. I think it's really, I use that word either way as an acronym for willing, honest, and open. And so when we're willing, honest, and open, our world opens up. And it doesn't matter who and it doesn't matter how, as long as we're using those three letters. Because when we're willing, we're able to take action. When we're honest, we're willing to admit that we got the noise going on and we're not sure what to do, and honest about the stuff going on, and open to a different way to do it than our head is telling us. And so I use the WHO as, or the HOW, it doesn't matter which one it is. I use that as the movement forward into progress, because our faith is buried under all of that noise. And sometimes it takes the action of walking in that faith that we're frightened isn't going to work out to see the changes. In fact, I don't think it's sometimes, I think it's all the time. But we got to realize that most of all of the noise in our head is coming from our head, and thinking it through doesn't work as much as identifying the emotions that are triggered, talking to somebody about it, and then taking the next right action, especially if it scares you. And when we do that, we start to see a very big difference in our business, in our relationships, in our level of peace, in our level of enjoyment of our life, in the opportunities that open up for us, in the amount of people that come to us and want to know from us, and want to hang out with us, want to find out how we're doing what we're doing. It is the thing that starts to create the attractive character that everybody in marketing talks about, is walking through the fear and allowing the noise to help us identify our emotions, in my opinion, is that key. I have noise. I don't just react to it. I go, what's going on with me? Because my noise is emanating from my emotion. And so if the noise is there, if I'm worried about who's saying what, I'm feeling embarrassed and I'm feeling frightened and I'm feeling shameful about something. If I can identify what it is, I can let that go. If the noise is all about things not working, I'm feeling discouraged and I'm feeling powerless and I need some help. If my noise is all about how it's not going to work for me or anybody else, or nobody's there to help me, I'm feeling disconnected and doubtful. And so I can pay attention to my noise and I can identify what emotions are there. And under all of that noise is a level of faith. And we have to get rid of the noise and identify our emotions. When we do that, we become masterful in being able to identify what's going on with us. And we become much more of a sturdy rock, and we can walk through what we need to, rather than all of the leaves blown in the air, getting blown from one idea to the next. And so I think we're going to end it here with this idea. I've been dealing with a lot of different clients and a lot of people in my life having this problem with faith lately, and really responding to their head and responding to the situation and responding to whatever fire might be happening. They get too close to the fire, their hair lights on fire, they run around in circles, but they don't put it out. They just sit there and try to fix one thing after another instead of stepping back and going, what's really going on with me? And so if you got something going on with you and your business isn't where you want it to be, and you're trying to put out all the fires and try to figure it all out, the biggest thing you can do is step back, identify what's going on with you. And if you need some help with that, reach out to Generator. That's what we do. We help you figure that stuff out, find out what the answers are so you don't have to figure it out. Any closing words, Kev?
I would say just keep moving forward, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how action really helps us to let go of a lot of that fear. Now, not frenzied action, intentional action. Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, we're gonna see you next week, and we'll have a different topic. And yeah, next week. Right.
Adios.
Adios.